Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Lucas had always been driven by purpose. When he was offered the opportunity to lead an environmental engineering operation in Alaska, he immediately understood the weight of that responsibility. It was a rare chance, the kind of project that shapes careers, but also a personal challenge. He would be leaving Amanda alone for months, which was hard enough on its own. But it was more than that. They were in a delicate moment, trying to reconnect after a period of stress, yet Lucas believed that succeeding in that mission would bring stability and pride to both of them. He boarded the plane hoping that even though physically distant, their bond would remain strong. As soon as he arrived in Anchorage, he dove into work. The conditions were tough. The team was small, access to the study sites depended on helicopters and long crossings, and every day brought technical decisions that allowed no mistakes. They involved filtration systems, containment, and environmental monitoring, all in remote areas requiring surgical planning and execution. Lucas stood out for his calmness, even when everything seemed about to fall apart. He knew if he broke down, the entire team would collapse with him. The pressure crushed him, but he kept himself intact inside. In the rare moments of rest, he looked for a corner with enough signal to send a message to Amanda. Sometimes he managed to call, other times there was only time to send a voice note saying he was fine. At first, she responded enthusiastically, asked about the project, said she loved him, and shared some news from her routine. Those little exchanges were his emotional fuel. However, as the weeks passed, something changed. The messages became shorter. Instead of, "I love you, take care," came only dry words without emotion. When he sent a photo of the project or commented on the cold, she just viewed it. Lucas felt discomfort approaching but avoided making it an issue. He attributed it to her fatigue, to the accumulation of tasks at home, to the burden of distance itself. He made up explanations not to feed ghosts. During one of the calls, Amanda answered hurriedly. She said she was going out to meet a friend and hung up before he could tell her about an important breakthrough in the project. Another time, she replied coldly to a message where he talked about missing her. "Take care," was all she wrote. He read those words several times, trying to extract any hidden emotion there. But the emptiness was clear. Lucas held on to the idea that physical absence was distorting things, that meeting again would fix everything. He thought of surprises for when he returned, preparing a special dinner, resuming the connection like watering a forgotten plant. That expectation was what kept him strong when his body already asked for rest. During the expedition of the mission, Lucas faced a technical setback. One of the essential sensors failed, and he spent 2 full days in the field, without a shower, barely fed, and still focused. He wanted to finish this and return home with a story of victory. When he returned to base, exhausted, he called Amanda. She didn't answer. He waited a few hours and tried again. Nothing. He only received a message the next day, "Sorry, I fell asleep early. Everything okay over there?" That gave him a lump in his throat. Even so far away, even trying to maintain a link, he seemed increasingly invisible to her. In the last week before returning, Lucas felt something had been lost. Amanda's motivation seemed extinguished. She no longer spoke of daily life, didn't ask him to take care, didn't show any enthusiasm about his return. Still, he tried to hold on to what remained. He sent flowers with a scheduled delivery for the day before his return, with a simple note, "I'm coming back. Can't wait for you." Deep down, he hoped that would awaken something in her. That the reminder of affection would be enough to bring them closer again. The plane landed in San Diego on a Sunday morning. Lucas picked up his suitcase, stopped by his parents' house to leave a present he bought at the airport, and went straight home. On the way, he imagined Amanda greeting him at the door, with teary eyes, hugging him as if he had come back from war. But when he parked, all he found was silence. She opened the door with a brief smile, said, "Hi," like someone receiving a neighbor, and turned inward. Lucas entered with the suitcase still in hand. The smell of the house was the same, but something was wrong. Very wrong. That night, they slept in the same bed, but they seemed miles apart. Lucas pretended not to notice. He thought maybe she just needed time to get used to his presence again. They spent the next 2 days in a strange choreography, almost like apartment mates. The much-anticipated reunion was happening without emotion. It was as if the Amanda he left behind no longer lived there, and the woman now sharing the roof with him was someone different, more closed off, colder, more absent. He started reviewing each of the messages they exchanged while he was away, looking for clues. He searched between the lines he might have ignored. He thought about moments before the trip, trying to understand if there were signs he chose not to see. But everything seemed to begin during his absence. That trip, which represented a professional victory, began turning into the biggest defeat of his personal life. What Lucas still didn't know was that the reason for that coldness had a name. And an address. And that during the nights he faced the vastness of ice to save ecosystems, someone crossed the street toward the house that, for years, had been the center of his world. The betrayal didn't arise from a mistake, but from a choice. And that detail would make all the difference. Lucas was finishing washing the breakfast dishes when he heard 3 quick knocks on the door. They were direct, without hesitation. He dried his hands on the towel and went to answer, thinking it might be a delivery person or a neighbor. But upon opening, he saw Claire, the woman who lived with her husband in the house next door for over 8 years. Always friendly, helpful, present at birthdays, dinners, family barbecues. A trustworthy friend. But at that moment, Claire was different. Her face was pale, dark circles deep, and her hands gripped the phone as if trying to crush it. "Did Amanda already leave?" she asked directly. "She left about 20 minutes ago," Lucas replied, confused. Claire took a deep breath, walked in without waiting for an invitation, and closed the door behind her. "Lucas. I found something. I don't want to beat around the bush. I need you to see it with your own eyes." She sat on the couch, unlocked her phone, and handed it to him. It was a video, recorded in first person. Lucas saw the screen Claire walking inside her own house at night. The recording was slightly shaky, but everything was understandable. Claire filmed as she quietly climbed the stairs. In the background, muffled noises came from the bedroom. She slowly pushed the door open. Then the image revealed the scene that would cut anyone inside. Amanda, Lucas's wife, was lying in Claire's bed. In Marcus's arms, Claire's husband. The two were laughing, covered only by a sheet, completely at ease, as if they were at home. Except that was Claire's home. Lucas froze. His eyes fixed on the phone. The scene continued, but he couldn't process it properly. His wife, with the neighbor. His neighbor, with his wife. All on the bed of the friend who was now sitting in front of him, her face burning with shame and anger. Claire took the phone back and started speaking, firm but visibly upset. "I've suspected for weeks. Marcus had been coming home late, always with excuses. Always with some story to justify leaving, strange calls, silence. I just needed confirmation. So I pretended I was spending the weekend at my mom's house. I told her my sister had back pain and needed help. Marcus believed me right away. She got up and started pacing the living room. I stayed at Liz's house, the neighbor across the street. She's my childhood friend. Let me stay in the back room, with the lights off. From there I could see my whole house. And then, on Saturday night, I saw Amanda leaving your house and entering mine. Not even knocked. Just walked in. The door was already unlocked, like it was routine. I waited 5 minutes and went through the back door. I entered quietly. I climbed the stairs with the phone in hand. When I opened the door, the two of them were there. In my bed. Laughing. As if nothing in the world could reach them. She stopped pacing and stared at Lucas, her eyes red, breathing heavily. I couldn't keep this to myself. I thought you deserved to hear it from me, face to face. Lucas remained still, trying to piece together that revelation. Everything made sense now. The distancing. The silence. The disinterest. But knowing didn't ease the pain. It only hurt more. What Amanda did was more than a physical betrayal. It was invading the trust of someone who shared birthdays, advice, and confidences with her. Someone who considered her a friend. Almost a sister. Claire lost trust in her husband. Lucas lost much more than that. And at that moment, the two had only each other to share the weight of that fall. Lucas spent the rest of the morning in silence. Claire had already left, leaving behind not only the video that tore everything apart, but also the weight of a truth Amanda no longer bothered to hide. He didn't know how to act. There was no script for that kind of situation. He only knew that something inside him had broken, and what was left was trying to stand with the little that still made sense. Amanda arrived from work around 6 in the evening. She was calmer than in previous days, as if she had already accepted what was coming. Lucas was sitting on the couch, with the phone in his hand, but not looking at the screen. As soon as she entered, she paused for a moment at the door. Didn't say anything. Just observed her husband, took a deep breath, and walked into the kitchen. Opened the fridge, grabbed a water bottle, and returned to the living room. Drank in silence. Lucas watched her, but didn't speak. There was no need for questions. She knew. And somehow, he did too. Amanda broke the silence with a short sentence. Claire came by today? Lucas nodded. I knew, she murmured, looking at the floor. At some point she would come. It was just a matter of time. Lucas didn't respond. Her confirmation caused no surprise. It was as if everything had already been said, even before any word was spoken. Amanda went to the bedroom. She stayed there for over half an hour. Lucas heard the muffled sounds of drawers opening, clothes folding, zippers closing. Each sound seemed like a hammer blow on the remains of what they once called marriage. When Amanda returned to the living room, she carried 2 medium-sized suitcases, a backpack, and a coat on her arm. Her eyes were red, but without tears. She approached slowly. I don't have anything to say that will make this hurt less. Not for you, not for me. But, thank you for not yelling. For not humiliating me. For letting me leave with dignity. Lucas kept his gaze steady. He didn't want a speech. He just wanted it to end quickly. Amanda understood and didn't insist. She walked to the door, hesitated for a second, and without looking back, left. The next minute, Lucas felt the air in the house change. Her absence was visible in the details. The bags taken left empty spaces along the way, but the bigger hole was elsewhere. It was the buried trust. It was the sound of the door closing without a promise to return. Across the street, Claire watched from the window. She knew Amanda had left. She also knew Marcus had done the same a few days earlier. Now, with Amanda out of the house and Marcus out of Claire's, only the ruins of 2 relationships destroyed by the same hands remained. Lucas spent the following days trying to adapt to the new silence. The house seemed bigger, but it wasn't freedom. It was emptiness. Her clothes disappeared from the closet, her perfumes from the bathroom sink, her sandals from the entrance. Each absence shouted a bit louder. Yet, he didn't want anything back. Amanda didn't try to contact him. She knew there was no space left for conversation. And deep down, she herself had prepared for this moment. The encounters with Marcus stopped being slips long before Claire discovered. And when Lucas returned from Alaska, she was already aware that, sooner or later, everything would surface. Perhaps she just didn't expect Claire to have the courage to record it. And even less that Lucas, facing everything, would choose silence instead of destruction. That disarmed her more than any confrontation. Lucas started sleeping on the other side of the bed out of habit, even though she wasn't there anymore. The absence no longer bothered him so much. What weighed was the image of the two laughing together. The intimacy shared secretly. The betrayal committed inside the friend's house. And perhaps that was the worst part, the coldness of doing it knowing exactly how much it would hurt. In the first week after she left, Claire showed up with an apple pie. She said she couldn't stand eating alone anymore and wanted company. They sat on the porch. Ate in silence. Exchanged a few words about work, about bills to pay, about life that doesn't wait for anyone. And at that moment, between simple bites and tired looks, a new kind of connection began to form. Not out of loneliness. But because, somehow, both understood exactly what the other was trying to hide. It started with apple pies. Claire showed up with another pie one random afternoon, unannounced, saying she needed to get out of the house for a few hours. She was exhausted from the presents Marcus left behind, even after taking all the suitcases. She felt like the house still carried his voice, the apologies she heard, the smell of disrespect. Lucas understood without her needing to explain anything else. He served 2 slices of pie and put coffee on the table. They ate in silence, each submerged in their own thoughts, but somehow comforted by each other's company. Her presence was light. It was sincere. It was something Lucas didn't know he needed until he felt it. In the following days, she came back a few more times. Sometimes with a dish she prepared, sometimes just to chat a bit. They talked about everything, except Amanda and Marcus. It was as if the two had already been swept from the narrative. The focus was on the present, on what came next, on how to sew a routine without rush. And it was during one of these visits, sitting on the porch with mugs in hand and legs stretched over the wooden bench, that Claire had the idea. What if we scheduled our divorces together? Same day, same time. She said, without looking directly at him. It sounds crazy, but it would make sense. Lucas didn't think it was crazy. He thought it was necessary. And he replied with a simple, let's go. They went to the registry office together to schedule. Left with the date set. Monday, 9 in the morning. The end of 2 chapters with different punctuation, but with the same kind of silence at the end. In the days leading up to the signing, they continued their lives discreetly. They still saw each other, still shared small joys of daily life, like when they found a lost dog and spent the whole afternoon looking for the owner, or when Claire brought an old photo album from her youth to show Lucas and ended up laughing so much they forgot about time. The divorce day arrived. Both dressed simply. Not mournful, but not festive either. It was the end of something important, but also the liberation from a pain that no longer made sense to carry. They arrived at the registry office together. Hand in hand. And they walked in as if they were already used to walking side by side. Some people looked curiously. Others discreetly. For them, only each other mattered. Inside the room, they signed their documents separately, each with their lawyer. Lucas didn't look at Amanda during the process. She was there, but seemed small. Without shine, without firmness, just fulfilling a protocol she helped build. Marcus, further ahead, avoided Claire's gaze like someone carrying the weight of shame glued to his face. The 2 ex-lovers were alone, as if fate had decided to charge with interest what they started behind others' backs. Once they signed, Lucas and Claire met again in the lobby. She extended her hand, and he took it without hesitation. They left the building as they entered, together. Without haste, without wait, without speeches. Amanda watched from afar. She tried to keep her composure, but the image of the two, side by side, moved her in a way she didn't try to disguise. Marcus, leaning against the wall in the hallway, watched the scene with the expression of someone who finally understands what he lost, and what he never had. Outside, the daylight remained the same. Life too. But inside Lucas and Claire, something had changed. They ended a story, but carried the beginning of another. Not out of impulse, not out of revenge, but because they found in each other what the others let slip away: respect. And although it seemed simple, that was exactly what made everything worthwhile. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.